peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us today. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Agutu, and on the show we get to bring you the latest news from Kenya by looking at what's making headlines on the paper. So before I bring in my panelist, let me take us through quickly the headlines this morning. And on the Star newspaper, the main headline, Kenyatta's support bolsters Raila push. Odinga has made major strides getting the backing of top guns across the country. And the story is on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Fun-loving Uhuru ICC lawyer Munari eulogized as lover of life, free-spirited. He passed on, was it yesterday? So the story is on page 3 of the Star newspaper. And of course, the main pictorial on the Star newspaper is Orierogo gets a flamboyant headgear tribute before burial. There was a mass for her yesterday at All Saints Cathedral in Nairobi, and then just down there, DP Ruto in hectic campaign attracts Raila's movement. Politicians recruiting gangs, rowdy borders for campaigns, says National Police Service. The story is on page 2, and I think that is something that we will look at. And then we go to the Daily Nation, and the main headline on the Daily Nation this morning, pressure mounts on Uhuru over offshore wealth as Kenyans await President Kenyatta's comprehensive response to the Pandora Papers, linking his family to multi-billion shilling assets offshore. His political opponents are demanding that the wealth be repatriated and invested locally to create employment for thousands of jobless youth. The story is on page 10 of the Daily Nation. And then just up there also, lawyer Evans Munari succumbs to illness. The story is on page 12. UDA unveils faces behind the party. The United Democratic Alliance, UDA, has named 31 officials who will run affairs of Deputy President William Ruto's political vehicle to campaign for the presidency. The story is on page 6 of the Daily Nation. A sick hospital, Butere, where the dead share wards with patients. That is the story, is on page 3 of the Daily Nation. And then just down there, why schools are staring at a financial crisis in term 2, and MPs want tax cuts to reduce fuel cost. The story is on page 8 of the Daily Nation. And we turn our attention now to the Standard newspaper, and the main headline, unexpected Mudavadi factor, 2022 hidden cards, even though President Kenyatta has lately hinted at backing ODM leader Raila Odinga presidential bid. ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi remains close to Uhuru, begging the question, what next? Could this be the ace a card? The story is on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. MPs now propose radical cuts to slash fuel price. Page 13, and lawyer Munari saxed his way into night of death. The story is on page 3, and Kenya bids to host World Athletics 2025. And then just down there, top teachers schools fated. Teachers whose schools posted top grades in last year's national examinations have been rewarded as the country marked World Teachers' Day. The story is on page 6 and 7 of the Standard newspaper. So that is what we have on the front pages this morning. I am joined by Sharon Gitonga from Nairobi. Sharon, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam, back at the headquarters, my co-panelist Samuel Tawish, and to all our viewers watching us across the globe. It is a pleasure to be part of this morning segment show. Thank you.
Nice to have you here, Sharon, and we're also joined by Samuel Tawish. Tawish, good morning.
Good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu. Good morning to my colleague panelist, Sharon Gitonga. Good morning to our viewers watching the program in Africa and the rest of the world.
All right, so let's just get into it, and we'll start with the headline on the Daily Nation. And I think at this point we'll just let the president to come back, because he said he will give the country a comprehensive, statement on the Pandora Papers, and so we shall wait for that. So we will not look too much into that. But of course, this has not meant that people still not talk. There's been a lot of talks, and Kenyans have been having a lot to say, especially those who feel they now have an opportunity to attack President Uhuru Kenyatta. So the main headline on the Daily Nation this morning: pressure mounts on Uhuru over offshore wealth as Kenyans await President Kenyatta's comprehensive response to the Pandora Papers linking his family to multi-billion shilling assets offshore. His political opponents are demanding that the wealth be repatriated and invested locally to create employment for thousands of jobless youths. I'd like just to get your reaction to that before we get into the nitty-gritty of the story. Samuel Tawish.
Very well. Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you for the discussion we are having this morning. Indeed, Miriam, like we had said earlier, this was quite anticipated because, again, when you look into the motive behind this publication by the Pandora Papers, it was more of trying to corner President Uhuru Kenyatta and put him into an embarrassing situation. And I think they are not going to win in this particular matter, because when you look into it, this is more of a private business engagement. There's nothing illegal or immoral in as far as the Kenyan laws dictate. And therefore, it will be imprudent of anyone to call for President Uhuru Kenyatta or even to sanction him or his family to bring back the money to the country. The Kenyan economy is ailing not because President Uhuru Kenyatta has an offshore account in the foreign nation. It is just because our economy is not working because of the COVID-19 pandemic, because of the difficult economic times that the country and, of course, the entire world is facing. And the same cannot be attributed to President Uhuru Kenyatta having offshore accounts. And therefore, nobody can indeed summon or sanction or even coerce or force President Uhuru Kenyatta to have the money really brought back to the country. It will be his own prerogative and out of his own goodwill to do that if he feels it is the necessary thing to do. But it's not out of any pressure coming from any quarter for anyone to purport to want to ask President Uhuru Kenyatta to bring back this money. Indeed, the economy is not doing very good, but of course we cannot link that to President Uhuru Kenyatta or him having the offshore account. If it was correlated in one way or another, or if it is because, if it were that the economy of Kenya is not working very well because President Uhuru Kenyatta has offshore accounts or his family, then that would be a different case altogether. But as it is, Miriam, we all acknowledge, we appreciate, and even the publishers of this particular list, Miriam, have come out categorically to say that there is no illegality on the part of President Uhuru Kenyatta. He's not been accused of anything. He's not been accused of any wrongdoing. So I think this was just a sensational kind of publication, which was intended to, it was for political expediency, but nothing more than that. Miriam, I submit.
Okay, thank you. Sharon Gitonga, what's your comment on that headline there?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Miriam, and my co-panelist Tawish for your sentiment. And indeed, it's not a new thing. It's something that was, really anticipated. But I think I still insist on, what people need to, strike a difference between being a beneficiary and, being the person who has been able to acquire the wealth. And in this case, I think people are attacking, the president, and from the report that you're having, this is a family acquired wealth, and so people need to stop putting up these attacking the president directly. But it is, as we mentioned yesterday, this is as a result of blackmailing, and we all know this is with an intent of spreading malice to cause damage. But as it turns out, I am also anticipating for the president's speech and a comprehensive statement on this once he comes back. So, and as he mentioned, this is going to, open up, if I can say that the Pandora Papers have opened up a Pandora box. So there's more to, there's much more that we anticipate. And, this is going to open a cover up of, people that became billionaires overnight, unlike, the family of the president of the Republic of Kenya, who have been known, to be in the business for ever since. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And still staying with this matter, now Kikuyu Member of Parliament, Kimani Ichung'wah, a strong critic of the president, said the fortune held by the president's family in foreign countries fails to inspire confidence in the stability of Kenya's economy and political system. But working with somebody who is constantly being accused of allegations of corruptions have been, being leveled against him every now and then, that inspires Kenyans? Tawish.
Miriam, there appears to be some background noise. Maybe if you can permit Sharon to just respond briefly. As that is sorted, then I'll be able to make my comment in a few minutes, please. You can hear the background noise, it's too much.
And there's actually, we can't really hear it.
Okay, thank you, Miriam. If I should respond then, just like you mentioned, Miriam, I do not expect anything. It is not surprising coming from the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah, Ndini Nyoro, the likes of Gachagua and other MPs who are allied to Deputy President William Ruto. Most of those who come from the central Kenya, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta's backyard. It was widely expected that they were going to take advantage of this. And you could clearly see, they have been so much excited and trying to actually challenge President Uhuru Kenyatta to come out clean on the offshore accounts and wealth. And you've posed a very good question, Miriam. How come that we've been talking about matters corruption? There's been so much indictment on the part of Deputy President William Ruto, and men the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah have been associating with, but we haven't quite seen them come out and even challenge Deputy President William Ruto to explicitly tell Kenyans or the world the source of his wealth. This is being hypocritical on the part of these lawmakers. It is more of politics. And I think they have just what I will refer as a vendetta against President Uhuru Kenyatta, a personal kind of difference, not necessarily on principle, not on any ideology, but it's more of personal. It is just like Miriam. You will not want President Uhuru Kenyatta to sire children because he's the President of the Republic of Kenya. And therefore, anyone who does not have children, President Kenyatta has to donate his own children. Everybody has to do their own things. You cannot stop President Uhuru Kenyatta from doing business, be it in the country or in the foreign nations. It is not it's not illegal in as far as the Kenyan constitution is concerned. These people who like speaking in funerals, they like speaking in public rallies, in political gatherings, if they feel that there's anything they need to do and enact in as a legislation, then they go and do the same on the floor of the House or in the National Assembly or in the Senate. For them to come out and start, to try and exaggerate this kind of publication or story just because they want to paint President Uhuru Kenyatta in bad picture and in bad faith. They want, I think, to use this to sanitize all the things that Deputy President William Ruto has been indicted for the longest of times. I think this is, like President Uhuru Kenyatta said, it is an opportunity that has presented itself for the people of Kenya, more so the elites or the leaders, to really come out in the open and declare their wealth and speak about how they got this wealth. And for President Uhuru Kenyatta, I don't think he will be struggling to let Kenyans know or the world really the source of his wealth of the offshore accounts, because we all know, even before President Kenyatta came into power, they have been doing business. And I think this is something that they've been doing, his family has been doing it, and nobody can stop it simply because Kenyatta is the President of the Republic of Kenya. I submit.
Okay, thank you. While admitting that it is not illegal to operate offshore properties under the Kenyan law, Uasin Gishu Women Representative Gladys Sholoi said it is immoral for the president, by virtue of his office, to have a foreign bank account. It may be legal, but it's immoral. You cannot be leading a country that is suffering economically when you yourself are taking the wealth out of the country, especially when a lot of the wealth was made within this country. But they're following a person who, instead of bringing an investor in the country, decided to take the investor to Uganda. The double speak here. Perhaps Tawi should respond before I bring in Sharon.
Miriam, in fact, what the likes of Gladys Boshole should be responding to, the question is, why is the economy of Kenya reeling in pain in the first place? It is because those people whom they are associating with are the ones who have been looting this country for the last almost 9 years. They have been dipping their fingers in every of the public coffers whenever they get an opportunity. They would through their proxies in parastatals and in government agencies. That is in the public domain. We want to see if these people are really of high integrity and morality. They have to come out and speak about the same, the indictment, the accusations. First of all, against Deputy President William Ruto. He hasn't come out clean, nor has the associates come out clean to speak about all these corruption allegations against them. That is why, of course, as we speak today, the economy is not doing very well in Kenya because so much money has gone into the pockets of a few. And Kenyans can quite tell you this. It is in the public domain. Why don't we have the Aurora and Kimorel dams? If the people of Elgeyo Marakwet today do not have water for irrigation or even for consumption, why is it so? Because President Kenyatta's government has not or did not allocate money for the construction of those dams. It is because the monies that were meant for these dams went into the pockets of a few individuals. And in this case, Deputy President William Ruto knows it too well, and he should be answerable to this. You talk about the cost of electricity in the country. We understand what has been happening, something that has even occasioned the change of guard in the energy sector that has seen, Charles Keter being moved from that particular docket. There are so many examples, Miriam, that you can quite give as to why our economy is not doing very well. You cannot attribute, and nobody has attributed that we are facing difficult times economically because President Uhuru Kenyatta's family is wealthy or they're doing business outside the country. We all acknowledge and appreciate. Kenyatta's family continues to do even business locally in the country here. Kenyatta's family is doing businesses that has employed so many people and has created job opportunities for so many young people in this nation. Tell me a single job opportunity that President William Ruto has created for the people of Kenya. For the last 9 years, it's been the deputy president, if not giving them wheelbarrows and mkokoteni and whipping them to follow him behind the hustler narrative, which is so divisive and polarizing in as far as the 2022 general election is concerned. So, Miriam, these are politicians who are hypocritical, politicians who are exploiting this publication and taking the advantage of it to try and mudslide the name of the President Uhuru Kenyatta. We know the president is very clean. His family is doing a very clean business, and anyone who has a contrary opinion should come with evidence to challenge us or to challenge the people of Kenya to that effect. I submit.
Okay, good morning. And we're not holding the brief for the president, obviously. That is a personal matter between the president and his family. We're not the accountant of the businesses run there. We don't know. And the president said he will come and offer or give to Kenyans a comprehensive, statement over this expose, and he will give us his position. So we are not even dealing with it. But what we're looking at this morning is some of the reaction that we've heard, especially from our political class. And now we see Gladys Boshole saying that it is immoral, as much as it's not illegal, because nobody has come out to say, the manner in which that wealth was acquired was maybe through corruption, or that is not the case, but offshore account. And this, I think, the last I checked, or part of what I heard from that expose, these accounts were opened way before even some of them before President Uhuru Kenyatta became president, these family businesses over there. So anyways, so Gladys Boshole said that it is immoral. You cannot be leading a country that is suffering economically when you yourself are taking the wealth out of the country. The fact that Gladys Boshole is a staunch supporter of the deputy president, who instead of bringing an investor in this country decided to take an investor out of the country, in essence taking jobs out of the country, but that would have empowered a lot of young people in this country. Is it not hypocritical that now President Uhuru Kenyatta has to be called out, and that saying that it is immoral having this money outside the country while you are taking an investor out of the country in this regard? If you're going to speak on it, can you just, if wrong is wrong, then wrong is wrong. But how is it that they're picking and choosing which part they feel is immoral? Sharon.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for your sentiment, and of course my co-panelist Tawish. And of course I allude to the fact that this is being very hypocritical, especially coming from our leaders who are associated, or rather who are political allies and close confidants to the Deputy President William Ruto, and it's no one, it makes one wonder that the same lieutenants, that stole over 21 billion from the ARA and Kimware saga, and then they just claim it's it's just pocket change, it's loose change, trying to poke their noses from the Pandora Papers saga. And it's very clear that there's no law that prohibits holding foreign accounts or investing in a foreign nation. I find it very hypocritical, and I think if I can quote one of one Ruto's sentiments a while back, when he said that he doesn't believe that corruption can compromise service delivery in itself. It speaks volumes, and it tells the kind of a person that he is. And I'm hoping that Kenyans, it's time that we can just shift our focus and start to demand an audit and a lifestyle audit of the Deputy President. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think I'll just leave that there, and then as we wait for President Kenyatta to come back, right now he's on an official meeting outside of the country. So when he comes back, he will give a comprehensive report, as he has said, and he will tell us what's really is happening. All right, so UDA unveils the faces behind the party. The story is on page 6 of the Daily Nation. Let's see what these officials are about. Page 6 of the Daily Nation. And the United Democratic Alliance has named 31 officials who will run affairs of Deputy President William Ruto's political vehicle to campaign for the presidency. Among them is an MP, an ex-cabinet minister, former MP, a former campaign manager, former ODM leader Raila Odinga's campaign manager for ODM Raila Odinga, ODM leader Raila Odinga, and technocrats. The party officials will also be members of the National Executive Committee, a top decision-making organ of the party with a role in party grassroots elections and nominations. UDA Chairman Johnson Muthama and Secretary General Ms. Veronica Maina have been the most visible party leaders since Dr. Ruto took over the party. So we see Dr. Ruto. Just beside that, we have the full list of the wheelbarrow. That is what the Daily Nation has called it, the full list of wheelbarrow party officials. Daily Nation, they're being shady. But anyway, that is their party symbol. And so DP is getting ready, and he's to organize his team, even as he readies to run for elections next year under UDA. He's still in Jubilee Party. The other day, he wrote a letter expressing his concern, the letter to the bishops, that he wants to be, he's ready and willing and without condition to have to be mediated so that they can they can get back to having that good working relationship with the president. And but now when you read what you're reading right now, Samuel Tawish, was this even a person who was even ready for mediation? And if you're working towards and you're putting your hearts together to run for another party, why? I keep asking this question, and maybe we'll never get an answer for it. Why is he still in Jubilee Party?
Miriam, do you ever imagine or even think that Deputy President William Ruto is sincere for a moment?
That is immoral. That is immoral. If you talk about immorality, yes.
It is indeed. That's why you saw last time when I was, or even the panelists were making submission towards this very topic. We did challenge Deputy President William Ruto that as a minimum, an irreducible minimum for any engagement between himself and President Uhuru Kenyatta, he should first and foremost apologize to the people of Kenya publicly for whatever he's been doing to blackmail and undermine President Uhuru Kenyatta. Part of the blackmail and undermining, Miriam, that we've been talking about is, forming another party when he's still a member and a deputy party leader of the Jubilee Party, a ruling party to be precise, Miriam. Deputy President William Ruto goes ahead and forms a rival political party, in which case he's using it for his political ambition come 2022. He's openly come out and drumming support for this political party. I mean, it is because we are so
relaxed as a country. When you even look into the chairperson of the political parties, is it the tribunal or such kind of things? You cannot quite understand how a person who has been elected on this particular party forming another political party while they are still in this very formation that they rode into to come into power. This is something that has never been seen. It has never been witnessed. History has it that people, when they differ in the political formations that propel them into office, or the ones which they are members or officials, they resign before they go and form other parties. But in Kenya, I think this is very unique. It has never been witnessed. It has never been seen. I do not see it happening again in future, because Deputy President William Ruto has shown us what has never been done, especially from a whole deputy president. He's doing things contrary to what his boss, the president, and the party leader in the party which he was elected to serve as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. So first things first, Deputy President William Ruto, if he was honest enough, should have first of all denounced his association with the UDA as a first, as a first condition for him to engage with any meaningful talks with the President Uhuru Kenyatta. Second is about him coming out and offering a public apology about why he's been differing on policies that President Uhuru Kenyatta has been spearheading. When it comes to the handshake, when it comes to BBI, when it comes to the fight against corruption, when it comes to the unity of purpose, a very rigorous crusade that the President and his partner Raila Odinga have been championing in the country. We should have seen Deputy President William Ruto really being at the forefront, supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta in achieving his agenda, in achieving his legacy, even as he serves his final term in office. But the Deputy President has been on a contrary or an opposite lane. He's been fighting the President, and it does not serve any purpose. Whichever kind of arsenal he wants to assemble, whichever kind of strategies and campaign machineries you want to put into place. Kenyans are out here to really see, because it is not just about the financial watches. It is not just about how much support you have across the country. It is also about the aspect of honesty, the aspect of transparency, the aspect of competence, and the aspect of accountability and loyalty that really matters. And if you were to ask Kenyans really on the question of integrity and loyalty on the part of Deputy President William Ruto, I believe he scored 0, and that is what most Kenyans really view of him. He does not deserve any of Kenya's endorsement, let alone even becoming the president in 2022. Miriam, I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Sharon Gitonga, the United Democratic Alliance UDA party has named 31 officials who will run affairs of Deputy President William Ruto's political vehicle to campaign for his presidency. And the Deputy President is still the Deputy President under the Jubilee government. That has to be moral. Why hasn't Gladys Bosh-Sholoi called him out on that?
Miriam, thank you very much for your question. And indeed, birds of the same feather flock together. So you do not expect Gladys, to question him on that, because they are in the same camp. You show me your character, you show me your friends, and I'll tell of your character. So clearly, we do not expect that coming out. But again, I find William Ruto being being not a man of principles, and being a man that wears too many shirts. And just the other day, we saw him, picking top brains to work with him. Then right now, so with the occurrence, I don't, it's not something new. And just to let him, just to make it clear that the top brains and the people that he picks up, to work with him, he should, you are not going to take him to, they are not a guarantee of taking him to status, but rather the willpower to change the lives of Kenyans. And until he's just like my colleague panelist has alluded, that he owes a public apology as to why he's defying policies, and he's not speaking he's speaking contrary to what the president's language is. So for me, I also term this as a high level of immorality, and I think it's high time that we Kenyans shun shun him, and from even vying and from even being in the presidential bid, because this tells so much of the kind of a leader that we are expecting come 2022.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now, there's a story here, not politics, but I just want to hear your thoughts on it. Dead soldiers' spouses to miss out on pension in case they remarry. The story is on page 7 of the Daily Nation. Widows and widowers of Kenya Defence Forces, KDF, will enter into new relationship who enter into new relationship after the death of their spouses will soon not be eligible for pension. Regulations recently published by the Defense Ministry stipulate that no payment will be made to a person widowed by a KDF spouse if that individual is married to a different person and has no child with the deceased. When any widow or widower to whom a pension has been awarded under this regulation remarries or cohabits with any person as his wife or her husband, the board shall, if there is no child of the deceased under his or her charge, cease a payment of the pension from the date next following such remarriage or cohabitation upon confirmation of the same. The KDF Pensions and Gratuities Officers and Service Members Regulations 2021 indicate. Samuel Tawish, what's your comment on that?
Very well, thank you, Miriam.
I know it's really off there.
It's something I can't quite respond to with the authority because I do not feel that this is the right thing really to do. One, Miriam, because we more like robbing these people their dignity and their freedom to choose whom to love, especially when your better half has passed on. I mean, it is your own freedom and choice to decide who to fall in love again with. And if we are going to have such kind of policies or such kind of directives, I don't think that they are going to serve any good purpose because, again, we will be denying these people their own dignity. They're human beings. What is it that we expect of them? That once your spouse or your husband or wife dies, then you cannot engage in any other love affairs. That is what it means. It doesn't really matter whether you have sired children or not. I mean, getting children or not getting, it is God's purpose and will in our lives. You cannot dictate or deny somebody their dignity, their freedom as to whom they're going to love or associate with, simply because their husband or wife has died or they have not sired children with their spouse. I do not think that that is the right thing to do. And as far as I'm concerned, Miriam, that is my opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So they're not just saying if you remarry, but even if you decide to, cohabit with another person, then the KDF learns about it, then you'll cease to get that a pension. Sharon?
Thank you very much, Miriam. I also, tend to think that this is very wrong because there is freedom to love and there's freedom to, to continue with your lives. Remember, these people at some point they are left at very tender ages. So you cannot tell me that, you've been widowed at 30, so you have to stay in the name of, receiving pensions and gratitudes. I don't think this really makes sense, and because people have the right to, to continue with their lives. And if you feel like you want to, establish with a different spouse, then so be it. So I think this is a very wrong thing, and it should not be the case. People need to, they have the freedom to love and choose who they want to continue their life with.
All right, there you go.
Miriam, if I may just pose a rhetorical question. Are pensions or finances or money all we live for? I mean, when your better half passes on, do they pass on with your feelings? You stop feeling the moment your spouse or your better half passes on? This is something that is illegal. In fact, we should term it that way. It is something that should not be given any space. It should not even be discussed in our current 21st century. Miriam, it is retrogressive. It does mean then when your spouse dies, you cease to have any feeling, you cease to have any engagement, any associations with anyone, to a point that there's a suggestion that you should be denied any benefits or any pensions that you used to get because your spouse died. Miriam, this is something that should not be discouraged. And I think if there can be any campaign we can carry out really to defeat any kind of such suggestions or policies or whatever kind of thing KDF wants to do, this is one of it, Miriam. And I think we should start decampaigning such kind of proposals as soon as possible. Thank you, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, let's leave that to the defense force. I guess they know better. All right, so there's another story on page 13 of the Standard newspaper. And about power, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, now lawmakers are pushing for substantial cutting of levies charged on fuel in a raft of recommendations that will see Treasury lose billions of shillings in revenue. Members of the National Assembly Finance and National Planning Committee, who have been under fire for the skyrocketing cost of fuel in the country, now seeks to reduce the value-added tax, that is VAT, from 8% to 4%, as well as petroleum development levy by a half. Also targeted for reduction is the VAT rate on liquefied petroleum gas from 16% to 8%, as well as the gross margins of oil marketing companies by 3 shillings. Now, the radical recommendations are contained in a draft report prepared by the committee chaired by Homa Bay Women Representative Gladys Wanga. The details emerged on a day the committee sought for a 7-day extension to make further inquiry of demurrage, a cost that has also been linked to the high fuel prices in the country. The committee had been given 14 days that expires today to investigate reasons for the high fuel prices following numerous petitions to the House. So the committee was given up to today to investigate. We all know the reasons for the high fuel prices. Much of it has to do with the levies and the taxes that have been added at Tawish. That is why our fuel prices are up.
Yeah, for sure, Miriam. And like I said previously, Miriam, I think this is a good move coming from parliamentarians because, again, that is why we elect them. They have to represent our interests. And if our politicians or people whom we have elected into these offices to go and legislate on our behalf, they just go there and sit, relax without looking onto the things that continue to heap more burden on the ordinary Mwananchi, then there's no need in the first place of having them in those houses. Miriam, and I also want to hope that this kind of measures or amendments to the taxation laws are not done simply because we are going into an election or there's an election around the corner. In that, I mean, soon after the 2022 August elections, we revert again to the normal practice of hiking prices of basic commodities, hiking the price of fuel, or even the price of the cost of electricity. This is something that has to be done with the cognizance that it is about the life and the livelihood of the people. Because again, when you make it difficult for the people to breathe, you make it difficult for the people just to meet the basic needs. Then there will be no need for people really to take pride of their leadership. There will be no need for people to be motivated even to go and do an election. So I want to hope, Miriam, that this particular legislation is not done with the motivation of an impending election come 2022, but it is done to cushion the ordinary Mwananchi from the heavy taxation and more so on the high cost of living. I hope that is the driving factor.
Okay, and that is one side of it. And I think Wanjiku, Mura, and a normal Kenyan would be very happy to hear this and if these prices go down. But also there's a downside to that, because should this take effect and this bill is passed in Parliament, the Treasury is set to lose about 4.7 billion Kenya shillings in revenue. That means it will affect a lot of things and a lot of government agenda, and especially President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. So one side, there will be a win, but the other side, it might be detrimental in terms of how some of these things will be achieved. So is there a possibility where a win-win situation can be struck on this one, or there has to be just a winner and a loser in this regard?
Miriam, there's an elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is corruption. I want to tell you for sure, Miriam, because you remember last time President Uhuru Kenyatta admitting and confessing that 2 billion Kenya shillings is being stolen in this country every single day. What does it tell you, Miriam? It only takes 2 days for us to get the 4 billion you're talking about that the tax collector will be losing in a given financial year. So what we need to do is let us just continue collecting our taxes from other sources, but make sure we will not overburden an already overburdened taxpayer by ensuring that we have sealed all the corruption loopholes and making sure that all the proceeds of corruption, the people who have been caught in corruption, they're made to pay for whatever kind of resources they have stolen from the public. When we do that, I can tell you for sure, Miriam, this country is not in deficit of cash. It is not in deficit of enough monies to run the affairs of this state. It is basically because a few individuals have taken advantage of their positions in state offices really to siphon the resources from the public coffers. If we can seal those loopholes, I can tell you for sure we will not be lacking, Miriam. It is not an excuse. It is something that is possible. Other nations have done it, and we have seen how they have been able to develop. You talk of China, you talk of Singapore, you talk of Korea. They were with us at par in 1963 when we got independence, but look at where we are today. You cannot even compare, but only contrast. There's something we seriously need to do and confront, and this is on the question of corruption. If we can sincerely and honestly tackle the question of corruption, I can tell you the country Kenya has enough resources to take care of our people, to do developmental projects, and be able to employ the young people that you are talking today. But people have taken the advantage, they have stolen this money. The same money they are coming to hoodwink the members of public again, giving them in form of handouts and the Harambes purportedly to appear to be philanthropists when we know that the people who have been actually the chief thieves in this country. I submit, Miriam.
Very well said. I don't even know what to add there. Sharon Gitonga, as Samuel Tawish has rightfully explained it, as much as the government, if this bill says through Parliament on reduction of these taxes, of course the normal Mwananchi will get a relief and Kenyans will get a relief from this. But that will mean that Treasury will be losing 4.7 billion Kenya shillings. That is estimated reduction in revenue if proposals are passed. And Tawish has reminded us of how much money is lost on a daily that President Uhuru Kenyatta confessed a couple of months ago. So the government can recoup the 2 billion that is lost through corruption and fill in the deficit there. I don't know, what are your thoughts on this? Is there a win-win situation where the government's agenda will not be greatly hurt, but also the people of Kenya will not be overburdened by the taxes?
Thank you very much, Miriam and Samuel Tawish, for your sentiments. And indeed, it's a good move from the MPs. But however, this is going to be a short-term and not a long-term, solution. We need to look at, prevention more than the cure. So I think my first point would be, I don't understand why the government still controls the prices of the oil market. And I understand it is an essential product, but when I look at, a case like an ICU bed is of essence, but it never goes up. So, and when I look at also the, EPRA, the body of EPRA was meant to, intervene the prices. But from the look of things is that, EPRA is, it actually did worse from what they were expected to do. So I don't know if maybe we can have the market control itself, by liberalization. For me, that I think would be the first thing that we can also try and see if we let the market control itself. We could actually be in a better position. And then also, I think the government should expand, its tax net to ensure that there are other sources where they can be able to regenerate tax from, and not just from the petroleum levy products. Because as once the cost of fuel goes up in one way or another, all the basic commodities tend to go up. And lastly, why could we not, exploit our oil? Because I don't think when it's on the underground, it serves any purpose.
All right, so we need it up there and running our industries and our vehicles. Tawish, Sharon is asking, why can we not fully exploit the oil that we now know we do have in this country? Just a little bit of that.
The simple reason why we cannot exploit our oil prospects, Miriam, is because the individuals at the policy level do not want to see this happen because, again, they will not have avenues within which they will be able to siphon public money. That's why they make it difficult even for these particular noble projects really to come to fruition, because they know once it succeeds, then the people of Kenya will have enough of this very precious commodity. And that's why you see they are, hampering and putting hurdles in the way of implementation or making it a success. It is as basic as that, Miriam. I do not think there's any other better reason as to why they cannot do it, why we cannot exploit these oil reserves. For example, when you talk about, is it in Lokitang, in Turkana, the oil reserves that, of course, there was a lot of excitement really that greeted, of course, when that oil reserve was identified from that region. I mean, the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta did also launch that project and the cleaning of that oil. But what have we seen with that project? I mean, it is not gone any far. I mean, it is just remain, it is gone mute, it is silent as we speak today. You cannot quite understand. Nobody has come to tell us that maybe the oils have disappeared, or what has happened with the tankers, what has happened with the cleaning of oil in Mombasa. Nobody is coming out to explain to Kenyans. For the simple reason, it is because we have many people who are interested in this critical sector outside this country who are at policy level, who are in senior government position, who feel once this succeeds, then it poses a very big threat and challenge to their very own existing businesses. And therefore, they will do everything really to frustrate that particular project from taking off. And I think that is the reason why we are not seeing the success of that these particular projects, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. And we're about to conclude the show, but I've seen some very good news here I wanted us to look at. Our Fly Orca flag, if you register en masse, that is in your numbers, Mudavadi tells Western. ANC leader says residents will enhance his chances of winning the presidency. The number of votes one commands will be key in determining who flies the One Kenya Alliance flag, ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi has said. And so, I don't know, he just seems to be banking on the votes from Western Kenya, his backyard, and yet he wants to become the president of the Republic of Kenya. Is this matrix still holding? If you want to become the president of the Republic of Kenya, then perhaps you should, explore further and try and get votes from other regions, right? Tawish.
Miriam, there's one thing we should not actually, we shouldn't forget. That our politics for a long time has always started or began and ended with tribalism. It begins from where I come from, the region where I come from the tribe where I come from. And before you go out and try to whip other people to get their support, you have to begin at home. But it is such unfortunate that a person of the stature of a former deputy prime minister and former vice president, Musalia Mudavadi, just going to his western backyard and telling the people that for him to really have more chances of clinching the presidency or even flying the ticket of the One Kenya Alliance, then the people of Western Kenya should register en masse. I think this is something that we should discourage. We want to see if really Musalia Mudavadi and others are national leaders. They have to carry out sensitization program of people to go out and register, not only from their, from their bastions, but to every corner and part of this country, because by the end of the day, they need each and every vote really to propel them to the offices that they are aspiring for. It is illogical for them to come out and say, or even whip their own families, their own relatives, or their only relatives and families, and maybe their regions really to go and, register en masse. This is something that should be carried out nationwide, just like I've seen former Prime Minister Raila Odinga do. He's encouraging all people across the country really to go and register as voters. But I wouldn't quite want to point fingers or blame Musalia Mudavadi for doing that. I think he's in a very awkward situation. Is in a catch-22 situation, if I should put it that way. He's not seeing the prospect of even him flying the One Kenya Alliance flag as its flag bearer come the 2022 general election. So in itself, he's in a very difficult situation. That is why he's going back home, he's going back to his bedroom and telling people, look, we do not even have numbers. How can I even be able to bargain for the presidential ticket to go and, of course, negotiate at the negotiating table. So he has to do that because, again, we have always viewed him as a person who comes from that region. But again, Miriam, if I should ask, what is the guarantee that if the people of Western Kenya were to register en masse, that they will vote Musalia Mudavadi to the last man? It has happened in the past, and I think he has lessons to learn. I submit.
It appears maybe he didn't really fully learn that, because he says, I appeal to Western Kenya to register as voters. If those who qualify register and support my candidature, don't you think I will be the next president? And of course, he's reiterated that he will fly the OCA flag. And this OCA has not even been formally registered as a coalition or a party or whatever it is. So I don't know. Sharon.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Indeed, they say charity begins at home. I think that's what Musalia is trying to do. But then again, he needs to leave his comfort zone to go out in other counties and, sell his manifesto and listen to what, the people on ground have to say. Remember, we said, from the look of things, strategy has really changed, and he's still relying on, his hometown. Then it's going to be, so bad for him. And I can now categorically say that there will not be any, compromised candidate. At the end of the day, the CV for, the contestant, is going to speak for himself. So he needs to, he needs to leave his comfort zone and go out and listen to what people are saying and from other counties. But then again, I also have an issue with Musalia. When I look at he doesn't have an economical, a very outstanding economic module, unlike all other parties, from rural transformation, 24-hour economy, bottom-up economy. Is still not, his ideological is not very clear, especially when it comes to the economical module. So, and also again for Musalia, it should be very clear that, power is not given, power is taken, especially to, especially political power. So he needs to leave his comfort zone and just go out to other counties and listen, because it's going to be a tough, it's a tough battle. And like I mentioned, this is not a battle for the fit, but for the swiftest. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. So the story, the good news that I'd seen here, I'll just read it, and maybe we'll talk about it on the next show as we look at other things and perhaps a bit of President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. Green grams, beans and rice farmers can now sell their produce to the National Cereals and Produce Board at a better prices. NCBP has so far purchased 42,000 of 50 kg bags of beans and 42,600 bags of paddy rice from farmers across the country. This is in addition to more than 700,000 each 50 kg bags of maize. NCBP Managing Director Joseph Kimote said the board has been buying farm produce with the aim to providing farmers with a stable source of income and a market for their commodities. He said this will help reduce post-harvest losses, provide a ready market for farmers, help in commercializing agriculture, and reduce exploitation of farmers by the middlemen as payment is done on the spot. NCPB is buying a bag of beans at 4,000 Kenya shillings, where the local market price is 3,800 for a 50 kg bag. A kilo of Pishori rice is going at 58 shillings in the local market, while NCPB is buying between 60 and 65 per kilo. Kimote spoke to the Star on Tuesday while launching the customer outreach campaign during the start of Customer Service Week. I think the noise that Kenyans have been making and that we've been making here is perhaps starting to bear some fruits. That is some very good news there, Samuel Tawish. For our farmers. Maybe Tawish left, but Sharon. Okay, so they are not there, but we will look at this story later on as we look at a bit of President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy and some of the things that have been done. We'll start with that story because I think that is some very, very good news. Our farmers a lot of times work very hard, but they don't even get to benefit. So if the government can manage to cut off the middlemen and the cartels, then perhaps, agriculture can be attractive enough to, to many people who have even given up on farming in this country because of the many bottlenecks. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you, Samuel Tawish. Thank you, Sharon Gitonga, for your time this morning. This has been Good Morning Africa. We shall be back here at 11 a.m. with more discussion of topics of importance to the people of Kenya. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good morning.